All right, so it looks like we are about live. I'm a minute late, but it's okay. And I want to just start out by apologizing for missing last week episode. We had a medical emergency, and I just was not able to make it last week. So hopefully, not too many of our viewers fell off because of that. But we're back, like I said, every Thursday night. Oh, okay. I was like, am I muted? No. Okay. Every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for Put It Into Practice. And like I say, every week there are 220 million doctor's office visits that happen every year. And those don't just stop happening because these offices have been, forced to close or change the way that they see their patients. Now, it is especially important during this time, especially, and as we see some of the second wave coming with COVID, that we reduce the strain on the hospital systems as much as possible by utilizing local services within our communities from these various private practices. And so tonight, like every other week, we've got another great doctor that we're going to be bringing to you. Tonight, we've got Dr. Rosalyn Moore. Dr. Moore has more than 19 years of experience as a physical therapist and 22 years as an athletic trainer. So I'm definitely going to ask some questions about that. She's got a BS, a Bachelor of Science in Physical Education and Athletic Training, a Master's in Exercise Science, and a doctorate in Physical Therapy. She's got certificates in dry needling, which we're going to hear about, I'm sure, functional movement systems, selective functional movement systems, cupping, which actually one of our previous guests talked a little bit about, TRX suspension, Fitness Institute online health coaching, NSA fitness training, and NSSTA lifestyle and weight management. A former collegiate rugby and lacrosse player, stays active with running, walking, yoga, weight training, and snowboarding. She's also an avid volunteer for local cat rescue organization, fostering cats, my goodness, and an first lieutenant with the Maryland Defense Force. Offers wellness packages in memberships, one-on-one training in-home, office, park, pool, I guess wherever, as well as via video chat. And clients can perform exercise training, balance and coordination, agility and functional training. She also offers personal training for lifestyle and weight loss. The practice also includes skilled physical therapy and post-rehab services for orthopedic concerns. So now I am super, super interested in exactly, like I say, all of these services. What do you do? How do they benefit our viewers? And please, Dr. Moore, take it away.
Hey, good evening. I think you just told my whole story. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, hello out there. My name is Rosalyn Moore, and I have a doctorate in physical therapy. Most recently just received that actually about a year ago, which is kind of crazy. It's a little late in life here, but I actually went to physical. I actually started my first physical therapy school a little late in life also when I was 30. So yeah, it's never too late to learn, right? So I live in Baltimore, Maryland, and I have been in Baltimore probably about 8 years now. I consider Maryland home. I did grow up in Montgomery County, and I left Montgomery County when I went to college, and then when I went to grad school, and then after my first degree in physical therapy, I worked in Florida for a little while, and I decided to travel. So I worked as a travel physical therapist for a little while. So that meant sometimes when a facility has a person that's maybe on maternity leave, or they need to leave for some kind of medical leave, they just need a little help for a few months, they would hire a travel physical therapist. So nurses do the same thing. So when I did that kind of work, I did one assignment actually in Florida. I did 2 assignments in Delaware, I think 3 or 4 in Maryland, 1 in Texas, a couple in South Carolina, and then a couple in Connecticut. And I ended up really, really liking Connecticut, so I did stay there for a while. It's so different than anybody would ever think it is. It is not whitewashed at all. It's pretty diverse, believe it or not, in some of the areas. So I really did enjoy my time there, and that's where I actually learned how to snowboard. So another late thing in life to learn, but that was fun. So after a while, I decided, getting older, I'm missing some of my, my good core friends, and they all lived in Maryland. So I decided to go ahead and come back to Maryland. So I was lucky enough to have a company that helped me move down here, and I worked for that company for a little while. And at that time, I was actually doing school system. So I actually really started my career with school system pediatric physical therapy, which is kind of different from what I'm doing now. But the school I went to was very manual therapy and orthopedic trained. So even though I got that training, when I had already worked in schools before that as the athletic trainer and a teacher, so I kind of had a love for school. So I decided to do an affiliation with pediatrics and school system and see if I liked it or not. And I did really like it. So that's how I ended up going into that field for about the next 10 years. And then that got a little old. I wanted to not have so many people telling me what to do all the time, and kind of wanted to make a little bit more money. So I decided to go back into orthopedics. So I went back into orthopedics, and I've probably been about 6 years now that I've done that. So I have really done the gamut when it comes to orthopedics. I have done managed care, like at Kaiser. I have done military at Fort Meade, that's an Army post. I've done physician-owned practice, which I did one in Glen Burnie. And I also did worked at just a general corporate outpatient facility. So I've kind of done a lot when it comes to different kind of outpatient facilities. So what led me into looking into getting to the doctorate, I just decided as things were changing, and if I thought that maybe I wanted to branch out on my own, that it would be a good thing to have. And I also thought, well, maybe this will kind of, rekindle my love for the field, and I can learn a little bit more. And so I thought, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool to be called doctor, right? So I went ahead and did that. So I finished that up last year, and then I was looking for work. And then I thought in my mind, this might be the time that I really do start doing something for myself. So I started doing a little investigating, and I did some interviewing with some people and kind of said, how did you get in the field? I interviewed, yoga instructors that were doing their own practice, and personal trainers that are doing their own practice, and physical therapists and everything. So I decided, I might want to go ahead and try this thing. So I think in January, February, I kind of, laid my groundwork and thought about my name, and I did a vision board with my initials. And then I thought of all the things I wanted to, create for myself for this year on my vision board with my initials. So then when I came up with those initials, I thought, I really want to make a name of my company something to do with my initials. Not just, my whole name, because a lot of people, make it their name, their company, but I wanted to do something that still kind of had my name in it. So that's how I came up with Rekinetic. So it's the RK for the Rekinetic. And, starting again and kinetic, moving forward, right? So I'm going to tell you now a little bit like what I do, right? So what I do with Rekinetic Physical Therapy and Wellness.
Well, first, I just want to say that I really do love the story of kind of what brought you to this point. It is super cool that you had all of these experiences. And I always tell my clients that no one else has the sum of your experiences. So you've got, like you said, the schools, you've got practices,
traveling,
travel, you got all of this knowledge and all of this stuff now that you're able to now bring to your patients in your new practice. So yes,
right.
Please segue that.
All right. So if I were to sum up my practice, I would say that consumerism is changing. And I feel like women, especially, are looking for a different approach to their health care. So I offer transformational care. I help women to have less pain and more activity so that they can live a more quality life. So I would summarize, like if you had to think about 3 words, sometimes just some of the market people say, think of 3 words to describe yourself, right? So I would say those 3 words would be accessible, qualified, and attainable, because my practice is a mobile practice, meaning that I can either come to your home, I can meet you at the park, I can meet you at the pool if you want to do some aquatic therapy, I can come to your office. If you have a fitness center in your apartment complex, I can come there. So anywhere that you need the care, you know, it's accessible. I can get there, right? And you don't have to be getting in your car and spending all that time and maybe being with a bunch of other people also, which is another factor nowadays. So as far as the safety goes, so we can be one-on-one, and that'll be a lot safer for people right now. And then the other half of my practice would be online. So I'm sure a lot of people are hearing lately, everybody's doing telehealth, telemedicine. So there, you know, of course, some things you can't do online as far as physical therapy goes, but for the most part in orthopedics, I could see most patients online. And then also as far as the wellness clients, you can do fitness, health, mindset, weight management, cooking, anything like that you can do online, right? So if I was going to say my ideal client would be a woman, and especially a woman of color, okay? And I'm looking to help improve flexibility and strength, eating habits, exercise frequency in order to help decrease the risk factors, okay? Our risk factors of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and obesity. And the number one thing that can affect all those is exercise. So I'm hoping that I can work with women that are interested in just improving their life when it comes to the wellness side of my practice. And then, of course, in the other side, the physical therapy side, that's probably a little bit more on the sports medicine, active, weekend warrior type person, someone that's not afraid to work a little bit hard.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I want to ask a little bit about your virtual services. Now, I understand that the one-on-one, and you know, like you say, consumer has changed, so we're gonna call that concierge services,
right?
You know, in person, right? Concierge, they're to their wherever they're needed. However, the virtual services, like give me an example, not necessarily of the weight management side or the lifestyle management side, but how, you know, maybe an orthopedic visit might go with your virtual services.
Okay, so a physical therapy visit pretty much goes the same way. So I would set up the call, and we'd schedule the call after they go onto my website, and then they get onto my practice page or my electronic medical record page. And so they would schedule their appointment. Then, well, actually, I should say first, the first thing I really would like to do is speak with someone and have what I call an introductory call. So the first step would be speaking with them, making sure it actually is a good fit, and making sure that I actually can treat them via telemedicine. So after the introductory call goes well, and I know that we can work together, then I would schedule an initial physical therapy evaluation. So that would start the way most of them do. So we always start with subjective. So subjective is me asking you, what can I do for you? What is your problem? What is hurting? What brings you to physical therapy, really? The other part of that is looking at their medical history, looking at the paperwork that they would have filled out beforehand, maybe asking a few questions about their medications, maybe asking a few questions about, you know, if they've had therapy before, what's worked for them, what does not work for them, you know, what do they like, what do they don't like, because that's important to know. After the subjective part usually comes the objective part. So in objective, I'm going to do my measurements. So the difference here, and always objective always starts with observation. So the patient stands up and I'm going to just observe your posture. Have you turn around? Let me look at your posture. Let me see what your feet look like. Let me look at your head to body position looks like. Then watching you move. Okay, so from head to toe, arms overhead, arms down, arms behind your back, bending at the waist, bending back, standing on one foot, doing a little squat. Okay, so I'm going to go from head to toe, looking at those things. Now, I would say the difference in the telehealth is that I probably use, I'm going to use more of a functional approach. And where you had mentioned that I was certified in SFMA and FMS. So those are both procedures that has specific parts to it that you go through, 7 different parts that you're specifically looking at. And they're looking a little more functional wise. So when I say function, that means you're not just, okay, so everybody has pain, right? And I can't usually fix pain. But if you can have less pain, but now you're able to go up and down the stairs, that's probably going to be more important to you, right? Or now you can actually put your dishes away, or now you can do your laundry. Those are the functional things that I want to know, or that I want to help you with. So those two kind of methods help me work through the objective part a little bit more functional wise. And the next part is the assessment. So that's where I'm looking at, okay, what was their medical background? What did they tell me? What did I see? Then I come up with a physical therapy diagnosis, okay? Because I have to make a diagnosis different than what you would think the doctor would say. Because if they went to an orthopedic surgeon, the doctor may say, oh, you have a herniated disc. And a lot of people love to go to the doctor and get an MRI and find out what that problem is, right? Because they just want to know. But even if you find out you have a herniated disc, it doesn't really mean anything because, I mean, do you really know what that means? Right? So when you come to physical therapy, I need to find out what your physical therapy diagnosis is. So that means I need to find out what your impairments are. What led to that herniated disc? Are you weak? Are you off balance? Do you not have any strength? Anything? Did you have ankle surgery last year? And so now you're walking funny. So then that made your back throw out, right? So I'm going to come up with the physical therapy assessment. And then in that A part, assessment part, I'm also going to do your goals. So we'll work on what goals. And like I said, they're going to be functional goals, okay? Not just decrease pain, which I know a lot of people really want to talk about, right? So, and then the 4th part would be the plan. So how often are we going to see each other? And hopefully we're going to set that first day, because it's really important to know how long we're going to see each other initially, set an initial plan of care, because I need to make sure that you're going to be committed. You want to make sure that I'm committed. If we just did it day by day, see you maybe next week, maybe the next week, it's just not going to work, because therapy is something that you have to actually put time into. And also with that plan, I'm going to give you a home exercise program that hopefully you're going to do. So that would wrap that all up. And then afterwards, it would be, okay, do you have any questions for me? And then we'd schedule appointments. And that's usually how a telehealth session would go.
Yeah, and that actually segues really nicely into my next question, because, the process of how people get in touch with you is, like you said, they visit your website, they kind of go through these steps, but who can see you? And like your concierge services, what areas do you serve for that? Your virtual services, how far do those go? Can you see people in London? How does that work?
Okay, so for physical therapy, we're licensed for each state. So we can only work in the state that we have a license. So I have a state license in Maryland. So I can see anybody in the state of Maryland for physical therapy services. For the wellness and health coaching services, I can see anybody around the world. So that doesn't matter. I do have to be careful, and everything has to be completely separate. A wellness patient, a physical therapy patient. A physical therapy patient can turn into a wellness, and a wellness can turn into physical therapy, but they have to be completely separate. Because with physical therapy, I have to do detailed notes. I have to submit ICD-10 codes. That's like what your problem is. And maybe if we are going to do insurance, so I do take, what would I take? I take Medicare. I'm privileged with Medicare right now, and United. Those are the only two. I'm waiting for Blue Cross. And so those would be your in-network. So I would fill out your paperwork for you for your in-network billing. If you wanted, I could fill out paperwork for out-of-network billing. That's not guaranteed that they're going to pay for it, but it might. And if you haven't met your deductible, then if I fill out that paperwork for out-of-network, that'll go towards your deductible. So you'd have to pay the cash, but either way, you'd be paying it if you hadn't met your deductible. But if you've met your deductible, then, and I can still bill out-of-network, it would be paid for. So, and then with the Medicare, it's Part B that I have. So that covers like me going into a home, or going to see somebody at an assisted living facility, as long as the assisted living facility doesn't already have like a contract with a therapy company or something like that. With Medicare, if somebody has Medicare, I cannot take cash. I have to use their Medicare unless it's a service that Medicare does not provide. So
insurance, that's actually really good
yeah.
to know for our patients out there, that even, you know, like you say, even if you wanted to pay cash as a Medicare patient, it has to go through their Medicare benefits.
Yeah. So make sure, because I'm sure somebody out there would try to charge somebody cash, but they really shouldn't. If someone has Medicare, they really should not be charging cash. The other thing with Medicare, though, is that there's a limit. There's a limit to how much they get to spend per year. So you have to be careful with that. Another thing about Maryland, the state of Maryland, is that we are a direct access state. So that means you can actually see a physical therapist without a physician's referral. Now, insurance may not pay for it, but you can see a physical therapist without a referral. In the state of Maryland, Blue Cross does pay if you go to PT without a referral. So a lot of people, you know, if it's a basic strain or sprain and you're not having like a burning sensation, you're not bleeding somewhere, nothing's falling off, a physical therapist pretty much can take care of everything. And if we can't, we'll refer you. So I always feel like, you know, you might as well cut out the middleman, because how many times have you gone to the orthopedic surgeon? Remember, they are a surgeon. That's what they do. Most people go, oh, they're orthopedic. They're an orthopedic surgeon. They want to do surgery. So if they can't inject you or give you surgery, they're sending you to physical therapy. So now you've gotten there, you've got another bill, you've got an x-ray, you've got an MRI. But, you know, I understand. Some people really just want to know what it is. They want to make sure it's not serious. But I feel pretty confident that, you know, most therapists nowadays are pretty evidence-based. They will do a proper assessment. They'll treat you. If it's not working, then they'll send you to the next higher care. Or if upon the evaluation, they realize, oh no, this is a red flag, they definitely need to see their doctor, then we would refer you. Because I mean, we have a license too. We're not gonna just see somebody that's having, you know, something that we can't handle.
Exactly. So now, what does your weight management or lifestyle management program look like? Now, you know, like I say, I guess I would fall into the target demographic. I'm a woman of color. I'm a busy businesswoman. I'm a single mom. I do not eat well, you know, and I think exercise is a 4-letter word, you know.
Oh no.
So I mean, so tell me a little bit about what your plan would look like for you know, someone like me.
Well, remember I said at the beginning it would be specialized and transformational, right? So that means I'd have to meet with you first to figure out what your goals are and figure out what I can offer, right? Most people do need a lot of help with mindset. So making sure that exercise is not a 4-letter word. And if you needed help with, you know, meal plans, making better choices, some shopping, I could help with that. If you wanted to just get started with exercise, you don't know where to start, you know, how can I get started walking? How can I get started running? How can I get started lifting weights? I could help with that as well. If you're interested in trying to train for a 5K, we can do that, you know, couch to 5K programs. I'm really passionate about, you know, just movement. It doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to be a sweaty, all out kind of a thing. We just need to move. We really need to move like 30 minutes a day, everybody. The numbers in the African-American population are just out of control when it comes to cholesterol, blood pressure, and obesity. I know sometimes the food is an issue as far as, especially in the city here in Baltimore. You know, I go to some of those little bodegas and see what they have to offer, and it's not good. You know, I grew up the same way. My mom made vegetables with a little bit of lard and a lot of sugar. I think everything she made had butter and sugar in it. But I just, you know, I learned how to change those things because I was always an athlete, but I was also always heavy. And I went through a lot of periods where I was a lot heavier than other times. So I've been close to 200 pounds. And my playing weight, like in college, was probably closer to like 138. So that's good for me. So if you think of I'm pretty good at 138, how did I look at 200, right? And how uncomfortable I was at 200. And it was very uncomfortable. It was. So I really like to focus my practice more on healthy habits and changing your mindset and fixing your risk factors, not so much just losing weight, okay? Because if that's all you're focused on, then it's just a losing battle. If your focus is, I got to lose weight, I want to look good in this dress, I want to lose 30 pounds before my reunion, my daughter's getting married, and so I got to make sure I look good when I'm on the dance floor. Those are such outside things that you're worried about. They're not internal things that are going to help you. So you have to figure out your mindset to figure out like, what's going to make me keep doing this when the wedding's over, when the reunion's over. What's going to make me every day say, I feel guilty if I don't work out, So those are the kind of things that I think are my practice set.
Now, how has, like you say, you kind of set up last February, kind of got your thing all moving. Has COVID affected you and your practice, or how has COVID changed or affected you?
Yeah, so the crazy thing was, at the beginning of the year, I was working for an outpatient clinic, and that was a contract job. And so that ended January 10th. And then I was doing some per diem work. So another company that, someone was on vacation, they needed some help here and there. 2 different companies I was doing that. And then I was doing 2 days a week at a gym up in Woodlawn. So that was a little, a lot more sports medicine stuff, some more like kind of personal training stuff. He also had some contracts with the Guinness company, and then with some assisted living facilities. So I worked with him, and that was Fillmore Fit in Woodlawn. So that's a really great company. And then COVID hit. So the first thing to go was my gym job. So the gym was gone. And then the outpatient facilities were gone because people stopped coming. So then they didn't need the extra help because I was extra help. So come end of March, I really had nothing but time. So that allowed me to register my company, get my LLC, talk to the lawyer, get my web page together, start doing webinars, coaching sessions, just everything. And it was really nice because a lot of people really were noticing that everything was shifting and that we were going to start to do a lot more things online, and that people weren't working and people didn't have money. So there are a lot of, like gurus out there, or really, really good coaches as far as business coaches and marketing coaches that were giving out free material and free learning. And so I was able to jump onto a lot of that. And I'm telling you, I've never learned so much in my life. I never thought I'd be making a landing page or making a website or registering my business or getting a tax ID or signing myself up for insurance. But I did it all myself. So I got it all together. I was able to launch like April 4th, I would say was about my launch date. So yeah, it's been rough. It's really rough because I'm not established yet. So when you're not established and then you're trying to convince people to buy in and trust you, it is a lot harder. So I do have a class that's going right now that's every Friday, and I have a little bit of attendance there, but otherwise COVID has made it very difficult for me to start a business right now.
Tell us a little bit about that Friday class.
So I live in Canton, Patterson Park area of Baltimore City. So there's a great park across the street from me. So once the restrictions were lifted that we were able to have outdoor exercise classes, I advertised that. And now on Friday mornings at 8 a.m., I have a little class. So I have it all set up, and we're doing full body exercise for 45 minutes, and works out really well.
All right. And how do people get involved with that? They just show up at the park, or?
So I have it advertised on Facebook. There are a bunch of different Facebook groups in our neighborhood. So we have a Patterson Park group, a Canton group, a Fells Point group. So I put the advertising out on all those things. There's also a Canton, like an association, and there's a Patterson Park like association. And I know a few people on those, and they were kind enough to advertise my practice on those. And then just word of mouth, I put out a Facebook page, and then also a Facebook group. So my Facebook page is my business page. So that is Rekinetic Physical Therapy and Wellness. And then I have a page where I want everybody to come together, like network, talk, discuss things. And that's where I'm putting like content out, like, you know, some healthy eating things or some different ideas about exercise, or here's a good stretch. And that group is called RKPT Tribe. All right, so my people. So the RK and then PT and then Tribe. So that's the group. So anybody can join that group. It's open, it's public, and just get some content, get some information on health, fitness, physical therapy, ask me questions, whatever. I go live there a little bit. So the other way, let me think. Yeah, just probably word of mouth that other people find out about it. So I'm just kind of getting spread out, trying to get some more people in the group right now. Of course, all we can have is 10 at the time right now. And right now I've had anywhere from 2 to 3. So I'd like to build that out. And then Saturdays, I'm really trying to start a kind of like a run walk group. So I'd really like a group of women, and multicultural, especially around here, because we have our Highland town, which is a very Latino based. We have McElderry Park kind of behind me, which is very African American. And then we have like where I live, which is very Caucasian. But I'd really like everybody to come together and start walking and running, or run walking or whatever on Saturdays. So I've been trying to push that out there. That hasn't been as popular. I haven't had anybody show up for that yet, but that's Saturdays at 8 a.m. And we're meeting at the park as well, at the Pulaski Monument. So if I could just get that going, get some people walking and exercise for about 30 minutes on Saturdays. I'm going to be there anyway, so it'd be nice if I get some people to join me. And then there's a lady that I had met who does yoga. Rachel Yoga is her trade name. And she was going to do some yoga after we do running and walking.
Is there a fee involved in these Friday and Saturday groups?
So Friday, I have listed as your first 5 are free. And then after 5, you know, you like it, you're feeling pretty good. Each class would be $10, or you can buy a pack of 12 for $99. And then Saturday is just free. So we're just out there trying to get some people together, right? And all my services are on my website, and they have the price. You can either do like individual or what's preferred, which I kind of don't advertise individual as much, because like I said, you know, it's you have to transform yourself, right? You can't just do it one by one if you're not committed. So signing up for either 3 months at a time, 6 months at a time, or a year is what I have on there. And trying to go by time, not really going by time, but just by the service. So like Friday is my fun Friday fitness. And if you're gonna do group programs like you and your friend, I'm calling that like buddies workout. So just trying to get a little more fun into what we're doing, different names, and not just being like your half an hour class, your hour class, your 45-minute class, because we may go over, you know, you never know, you know, so why tie it to a time?
Now, what is a major goal that you have for yourself and maybe for your practice over the next 12 months, seeing as this is, you know, very early in your endeavor?
Yeah. Well, the ultimate dream would be by the end of the year that it's fully up and running and supporting my life. Like, this is my only job, the only thing that I have to do. And I'm seeing enough clients to pay all my bills and then some, you know, and pay myself, I would say. So that's what I'm really hoping. And then of course, I'm hoping that I've helped people. I've helped people, inspire them to get moving, inspire them to eat a little bit better, inspire them to think better about themselves and not be so critical. And so that would definitely be my goal.
And you talked a lot about, you know, like absorbing a lot of this information and positive knowledge that's been out there and available during this time. Can you tell us maybe 1 or 2 of good podcasts or books or anything that you've discovered during this time that you could share and think that, others could benefit?
Oh yeah. The one that I really, really listen to a lot is called the Life Coach School. And it just makes so much sense because you have to get in the right mindset to do anything and to make anything stick. And I feel like the things that she's teaching you really just help you really shift and think, yeah, that's a really good thought. Like one of her really main things is that your thoughts create your feelings, which create your actions. So a lot of people will think, oh, I'm going to work out and then I'm going to sweat. And then, they have all these thoughts, and then they start feeling, well, no, I don't feel like it. And I'm going to feel really stupid, or everybody's going to be looking at me and then I'm going to feel embarrassed. So, and it's not that you are a bad person, that you're really embarrassed, is that it's what you're thinking about that situation. So if you just stop thinking about making it such a bad situation and just make it a positive and think, maybe, who cares if somebody looks at me? Who cares what I'm wearing? Like, you're doing it for yourself. So really, who does care? So just kind of shifting your thoughts. It's really that, no one can hurt your feelings. Only you can hurt your feelings is another thing she talks about, because it's what you're thinking about it. So if someone comes up to you and says, well, I don't like your hair. So if you sit there and think about it all the time, what did she say about my hair? I wanted my hair. And you're thinking about it, then yeah, you're going to make yourself feel bad. But if you're just like, well, I like my hair. What does it matter what she says? Like just changing your thoughts for it. And I think the same thing can be about changing your habits, because I hear so many people will say, well, it was my cousin's birthday, so I just figured, I'm just gonna eat whatever because it's a special occasion and I've been doing good. But New Year's is a special occasion, and then there's Valentine's Day, and then there's 4th of July, and there's always a holiday. There's always an excuse. There's an office party. Somebody brings in donuts. There's always going to be something. So if you can't figure out how to not give in to those every single time something happens, then it's just not going to work. And I'm not saying you can't treat yourself, or you can't have things, or actually that you are treating yourself, because there's no good food and there's no bad food. You can eat whatever you want. I honestly eat whatever I want. I just know that the other day I had Rita's for lunch. That's what I had. And I said to myself, well, if I'm going to have this Rita's for lunch, that means tonight I've got to have a salad and a good protein. And that's it. And that means after dinner, I can't have the yogurt or the ice cream that I normally have after dinner. So I just had to make that choice, because I made the choice to have Rita's for lunch. So that's just kind of the way it is. And too many women are using exercise as a punishment. And it should be a reward. You're rewarding yourself that you actually have legs, that you have feet, that you have lungs, that you can move, right? So reward yourself with that exercise. Don't make yourself say, oh, I have to exercise because I ate that piece of cake. Then you're just constantly in the negative. You're always in the negative.
I think that actually is a really good point, especially for the punishment aspect of exercise. I think that is enlightening for many of us. I want to ask another question that came to mind as you mentioned, adjusting your meals, based on what you had. What are your feelings on intermittent fasting? I've been hearing quite a bit of news about this. What I understand to be is just skipping meals. But
yeah, right. Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago when I was really looking at something that was going to help me, and someone told me about intermittent fasting. So I tried it, and I think I gained weight, actually. I have no idea, but I actually gained weight. I'm like, this does not work for me. But basically, you can do it a couple different ways. And I think most people usually do it where, I think it's called, so like you're on 8, or you're on 6, off 8. So you won't eat until 12 p.m. So 12 at lunch. And then you're eating between 12 and 6 p.m. Those are the only times you can eat. And then you stop eating from 6 p.m. until 12. So that's kind of how it works. It works for some people. Some people use that as, you might hear the OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. So, and some people are doing it that way because if you're 12 to 6, you may end up only having 1 meal a day. And yeah, that might work for about 3 months. I don't think you can sustain with that, right? And then you might feel like you're punishing yourself again. So then you're gonna be angry. So then when someone brings that cake, you're gonna be like, oh man, I'm just gonna have cake, all right? Because this is ridiculous.
But I mean, what if the cake is at 3 p.m.? I mean, can't I just eat the whole sheet cake? It's at 3. I mean,
yeah, you could. You could, and then you're gonna see that you didn't lose any weight, right? So you're still gonna have to make good choices.
Thank you. I appreciate that because, like, I think that a lot of us misunderstand or miss the mark with some of these. There's so many different eating suggestions and diets and all of these things out there. So I think it's always important to get an idea, at least, what we're talking about. So just to wrap us up a little bit, what is maybe a simple thing that folks can do? I know, like you say, movement, 30 minutes a day, but what is something easy other than walking that maybe people can do to induce this or get this blood flowing or whatever is necessary during the day? What are some easy steps?
So if you're at home and maybe you can't go outside and walk, you can walk inside your apartment or your home. You can try going up and down the stairs a couple times. You can do sit to stands out of your chair, leg kicks, just moving your arms up and down, in and out. You can dance. You can do hula. And the thing is that there's so much content available right now. And because of this COVID, so much more content has been provided, and free content. I mean, even on my TV, I turn it on and there's a new little icon there. It says at home. And at the bottom, it's like tons of free exercises you can do or different programs you can do, and it's all free. There's even if you go online and if you just, put into your computer, if you have a computer, free exercise. I know our community is giving free Zumba, and there's free yoga if you can watch. Now, of course, if you don't have a computer, you don't have a smartphone, you're gonna have to be a lot more creative, and you might have to seek help. You might have to seek help and get, one sessions with somebody and find out what you can do. And then, go from there. I'm not saying, like I was saying, it does take consistency, but I understand that maybe your consistency is that I meet with you, I give you your plan, you do it, and then we meet back up in 2 weeks, and then we meet back up, and that and then maybe we just talk on the phone one time, and but just so you're staying consistent with your plan and then progressing the plan. But yeah, so sit to stand with the stairs, leg kicks, arm circles, walking around your chair. Sometimes they have like those little, some people have those little bikes that you can sit on your feet. And I don't know if you've seen those with you just move your little feet, watching TV. And those aren't that expensive. You could get someone to order one for you or order one yourself and do that. Yeah, it's important though. It's really important to move. But here's the thing is, so if you can't move, then it's almost more important that you really watch that diet. That's the thing. So yeah.
Like I said, and I definitely can attest to, like I said, being, not necessarily the best eater, shopper. I do work really hard at getting the vegetables in, and that's kind of how I guess protect my diet.
Yeah.
I just shove the veggies in as much as I can.
It's a good start. That's a good start. Start with just adding more fruits and vegetables and drinking water. There you go.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Moore, for coming on tonight. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up now. I think that that's pretty much it for tonight. I'm
Right.
gonna put in the comments of the video your RKPT tribe as
Yes.
well as your Rekinetic wellness page for the business. And I'm gonna note the Life Coach School podcast
Oh yeah, it's really good.
that you recommend for
Yeah.
our viewers and our listeners. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, so much. And like I say, during this time, again, physical health and mental health are so very important. She touched on mindset as well, because it's really important that we stay in the right mind frame. We know that a lot of people are suffering with anxiety, depression, and these things can also show up physically in the body as different ailments. And so we want to just, like I say, again, be aware that any private practice can incorporate mental health and psychological services into their existing practice by contacting me at Avid Intellectual. And where it is my personal vision, as well as the mission of the practice, to empower every private practice owner to expand their scope of practice to better serve their patients, you, and the community. All right, guys. Well, thank you. That's another one in the bag. I'm so excited. Yay!
I did it. Oh.
Thank you again so much.
All right.
We have another special guest that we will be bringing you all that's available to you in private practice. So thank you all. Good night. And remember to put it into practice.
Yay. Good night.
Good night.